Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. So did you guys catch that sell-off yesterday? I mean, it wasn't great, but it's not to say that this is all over. Tom Lee just came out and he said yesterday's sell-off was an overreaction. Listen to this.
Why do you say overreaction?
Well, yesterday really was an indiscriminate selling day. Did Tesla's valuation and fundamentals drop 15%? Did the broad market have a 4% decline in valuations? To us, it really looked like a lot of liquidation. I think investors are, of course, reacting to the White House warning of pain ahead, but it has been more of an equity sell-off than it has been in corporate bonds. So to us, 4% down days, yeah, I think it's an overreaction.
An overreaction that is also affecting crypto. But guys, if you look at Bitcoin here on the hourly, it's looking like Bitcoin's been making its way up slowly but steadily. So we have, again, passed the shoulder pattern. We have not dipped down. As you guys can see here with the wicks, we have retested this level here, this trend level. But Bitcoin continues to make its way up. Right now, one Bitcoin is trading for in and around 83,700 per coin. And I guess I should say that that clip of Tom Lee, he was talking about the market liquidation from a couple of days ago now. Remember, guys, it's all tied together. Let's take a look at the S&P 500. And let's throw that on the daily. Right now, the market is closed. So another down day, 3 down days in a row for the S&P. Take a look real quickly at the Russell. IWM, Russell 2000 also had a down day yesterday. You guys can see that 3 days in a row in the negative. And same for the NASDAQ is what I'm assuming. NASDAQ has actually seen worse losses here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row where we've seen negative activity on the NASDAQ. Now, Lady of Crypto here putting things in perspective, okay? Crypto bull runs used to work like this. Part 1, Bitcoin pumps so hard you mistake it for a crap coin. Part 2, Ethereum starts pumping alongside it and reaches its all-time high faster than you can imagine. Then Part 3, capital rotates into high-cap crypto, so the top 20, and then they start pumping hard. Then we see alt season, and that's part 4. This time, part 1 happened early, and we all stalled out at part 2, but Trump is shaking things up with his trade policies. So again, guys, remember, this has to do with a bigger picture approach. This is why we're seeing, the crypto market behave the way it is, why we're not seeing it, we're all we're creatures of habit, right? We like to find patterns in things, and we're just not seeing the exact same pattern that maybe we saw last cycle or maybe we saw in 2017, but when you step back and realize the macroeconomic factors that are affecting this, you can see there are reasons for this. And so now this time around, Trump is shaking things up with trade policies. He did this last time when he was president. The market reacted with shock in the short term, and then we got back to business after a few months. I think part 2, 3, and 4 is still yet to come. It is just a little delayed. XRP has also been moving up slowly and steadily along with Bitcoin. And, this is exactly what we need to see for XRP. If you're an XRP holder, breaking up above that neckline there, you guys can see XRP has also been testing that trend in there and moving up slowly but surely. One XRP currently going for about $2 and just shy of $2.24 per coin. Market sentiment has also moved up by a little bit. Fear and greed is now no longer in extreme fear, but just fear. Altcoin season is at 13, so Bitcoin regaining some steam here. That's the first step. We need to see Bitcoin continue to move up before altcoins move. Market cap up by a little bit, just over 1.6%, and volume is also up over 1.8%. Currently, Bitcoin is up 1.5 in the last 24 hours. Many altcoins still fairly flat. XRP is actually up 2.23. Binance coin up 4.9. Some of the top 20 are, single digits. Pi is actually up 13.3. Some are down by a little bit, like Leo down 1.93. So not too much activity happening at the moment. I'm just happy we're seeing, XRP price, for example, moving up slowly but steadily. I'll take that all day long. The big news, guys, that's really going to influence, I think XRP price for sure. But considering it was one of the biggest SEC lawsuits in crypto history, I think that now that we've got some new news coming down the pike, this could perhaps spur on another FOMO pump. What's that news, you ask? Well, Jack the Rippler here posting this breaking. The SEC is going to hold a closed-door meeting at 2 p.m. on Thursday, March the 13th, 2025. So that is later today. If you guys are watching this video today, Fox Business Reporter confirms that the SEC is preparing to end the Ripple case. So we're going to get into that Sunshine Act notice. Here we have the official announcement, Security and Exchange Commission Sunshine Act meetings, 2 p.m. on Thursday. So that'd be 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Gives you the place and the status. Meeting will be closed to the public. And guys, this on the heels of Eleanor Terrett's scoop. Two well-placed sources tell me that the SEC versus Ripple case is in the process of wrapping up and could be over very soon. My understanding is that the delay in reaching an agreement is due to Ripple's legal team negotiating more favorable terms regarding the August District Court ruling, which imposed a $125 million fine on the company and included a permanent injunction preventing the company from selling XRP to institutional investors. The argument, I'm told, is that the new SEC leadership is wiping the enforcement slate clean for all previously targeted crypto firms because it believes regulatory clarity will resolve the underlying issue. Why should Ripple still be penalized? Accepting the Taurus ruling as it stands would mean that Ripple is essentially agreeing to admit to wrongdoing, but now the SEC itself is seemingly unsure whether any wrongdoing occurred. So there's no real playbook for this type of thing at this moment, which could explain why this case is taking longer to resolve than the rest. So stay tuned. So that is the latest news from Eleanor Terrett. She did post this last night. And so it makes sense for Ripple's lawyers to now be looking at this and, because, Ripple was sued at a time when the SEC administration was different. The ideology over there at the SEC was different. And so why should they now accept these terms and admit to wrongdoing when we do have a new administration? They want to wipe the slate clean, as Eleanor Terrett says. So it does make sense and why we could maybe come to favorable terms in the coming days. So Eleanor Terrett goes on to say, pretty sure Meta Lawman was the first to float this theory here. I have a theory about the SEC's unexplained delay in dismissing the Ripple case. So he posted it on March the 1st. Eleanor Terrett posting just a note for everybody flipping out that I used the word theory. My reporting is not a theory. It's what I've been told by my sources. I was merely giving Meta Lawman credit for putting his thoughts on here a week ago. Nietzschebuck's down here saying, Ripple was targeted by an unhinged SEC with completely contradictory arguments and tactics. To start over and treat all crypto firms fairly, the Ripple case should be undone as much as possible. No one else faced that type of attack, and no one will going forward. That here saying, case ending plus SEC zeros would be an unexpected win. I don't think the fine is going to be diminished, or I don't think the fine is going to be eradicated. Ripple can pay that, no problem. And so what are the next steps going to be? What's going to be happening during that closed sunshine meeting? Vincent Van Cote here commenting, the Ripple lawsuit wrapping up. Well, I myself have speculated that the end of the trial won't impact XRP as much as we think. I think a series of events afterwards just might. So I'm in this camp here, guys. Even if we don't, even if we do see an initial FOMO pump, right? If we do see something like this and then we see it start dying off very quickly, it'll be the chain reaction of events that eventually get XRP up even higher when we do get more stable news. Vincent Van Cote closing this off by saying, we're very close friends. Do not lose your cool. And so he thinks, for example, because he was asked this question by DR Cub 1908, what do you think will happen over the next 6 months? Well, he says, I think a lot of the 1,500 NDAs signed will start to be disclosed. So once Ripple does have a clear rules of the road, remember, guys, they have NDAs. They're already partnered with many American banks, and those American banks currently cannot do business in the United States. It's all about the banks. They're all in on XRP and digital asset custody. Banks will never want to manage wallets directly, so a regulated audited solution like Ripple Custody is the way to go. Banks will act as hard market makers, allowing customers to buy, sell tokens, while the banks source liquidity directly from the XRPL to do so. As the XRPL becomes more mainstream, thousands of banks will become validators, further decentralizing and securing the network. At this point, the best software to use to tokenize assets will be the XRP ledger, and apart from other utility tokens, the majority of them will end up on the XRPL, with BTC being the big one. I see BTC being locked up in custody wallets and RLBTC being minted. So that's another interesting perspective here. Minting Bitcoin on the XRP ledger. That's my view, perhaps not 6 months. I don't like predicting price, but given the time the case ended not entirely in Ripple's favor, we saw 3x in a matter of hours. So that's one perspective. Wanted to thank Vincent Van Cote, of course, Eleanor Terrett, Jack the Rippler, Lady of Crypto, and Shea Bolur for posting that. Yassine Mobarak coming up with his opinion too. Canceling the $125 million Ripple fine is not the problem. Ripple can pay that without blinking. Exactly what I just said. The issue is the injunction preventing Ripple from selling XRP to institutional investors. And so that's the big part of this, right? That's a big deal. Ripple is negotiating to have that injunction removed somehow. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how that can be done legally or whatever. Perhaps our esteemed lawyers can provide some clarity. Well, Bill Morgan did comment down here, strictly speaking, Ripple will not be negotiating to remove the permanent injunction, but negotiating for the SEC to consent to the judge removing it. It will require a motion to the court to have the permanent injunction vacated or dissolved. No chance or very little chance, he says, without the SEC's consent, and not automatic even with the SEC's consent. So that's Bill Morgan's perspective, another XRP lawyer in the community. Does anybody else comment on this? Not a lawyer, but I'll go out on a limb and say if Congress were to make new laws and the president were to sign it into law, might it not supersede past judgments where no applicable laws existed previously? That's a very good question here from Rob Licker. Some other people here commenting. I will link this in the description of the video if you guys are interested in joining in the conversation. Well, guys, our resident lawyer, Jeremy Hogan, he did come out noticing something very interesting. Something in Eleanor's post caught my attention. Case is in the process of wrapping up and could soon be over. The only way the case could soon be over is if Ripple and the SEC reach a private settlement agreement, which could very well be from the judgment, dismiss the appeal, and then simply never take the terms of the settlement agreement back to the trial court to be ratified. This is possible, but assuming the injunction is the sticking point, the SEC would have to agree not to enforce the court's injunction. I have a hard time believing that the SEC would agree to that, but possibly it could agree to something more oblique, such as providing Ripple a path to actually register sales of XRP to institutional investors, for example. So a bit of a workaround there, meaning Ripple could get what it needs while the SEC doesn't blatantly snub the court's order, meaning it can be done. This is the only way I can see the case resolving anytime in the next couple of days or weeks. So that's an interesting point here from Jeremy Hogan, who is a seasoned lawyer, and so which would be apparently be consistent with what she is reporting here. So a settlement agreement, guys, perhaps in the next couple of days. Jeremy Hogan also commenting, why not just ask the appellate court to remove the judgment? Well, appellate court lacks jurisdiction to impose or enforce judgments. Sometimes the multi-district litigation you'll see in an appellate court endorse or approve a settlement, but even that is rare, and still the case is sent back to the trial court. The appellate court is just giving the trial court a wink that the settlement works for it. So that means if the parties reach a simple settlement agreement and don't have it ratified by the trial court, we will probably never know the terms. It will remain private. Then he gives an example. Back in the mid-2000s, Taco Bell was sued over its Chihuahua advertising campaign and lost. During the appeal, the parties reached a settlement agreement and simply dismissed the appeals. It was leaked out later that they had agreed to settle for about half of the full judgment, so it absolutely can happen. A settlement agreement 100% keeps the terms within the parties' control, so that is what every mediator tells you 10 times during every mediation. An attempt to ratify the judgment back at the trial court runs into problems, or you could run into problems that I've discussed before, namely that the judge could say no. Look at a really good overview of the law in that area from the SEC versus Penn case, and so he links another example there. But then Jeremy Hogan says, but he says, with that said, I still think bringing the case back to the trial court is the best option. First, the judge could agree to amend the judgment back in 2010 in the SEC versus BOA case. Judge Rakoff of Terraform fame wasn't happy with the agreed settlement, thinking that the Bank of America was getting off too easy, which was true, but he still agreed to enter the consent judgment and gave considerable weight to the SEC's position. As he says, power to enforce the law should never be confused with power to impose their own preferences. Second, so what if the trial court refuses to amend the judgment? You are still in the same position and you can still enter into your private settlement agreement. You get a free shot at it, and that is a rare thing in life, but it would take longer than a couple of days. So, you know, this is a really good assessment here from Jeremy Hogan. XRP Crypto Wolf asking, around when do you think XRP case could possibly end? In theory, a settlement agreement could have already been reached, Jeremy says. And then New Paths X does ask here, Jeremy, a private settlement could also mean that both sides undisclose a settlement number or settlement has been agreed upon with prejudice. Undisclosed terms, is that possible? Jeremy saying yes, it is. So, guys, this is what we have now. Undisclosed terms, a possibility, maybe some tweaks, some workarounds to create a favorable settlement for both the SEC and Ripple that would not snub the court's order. Fred Rispoli here also commenting, I just don't see this being the big issue some are making it out to be. It's unorthodox, but it's not difficult. Number one, he says, regarding Torres' order, she's not going to enforce it herself. Only the SEC will enforce violations. Number two, the SEC and Ripple can file a motion to vacate the judgment for the cleanest way to dispose of it, telling the court telling the court in consideration for potentially losing your entire crypto jurisdiction if we lose the appeal, we're agreeing to vacate judgment in exchange for Ripple dropping its appeal. So that's another bargaining tool, I guess. Torres is not going to second guess this. The SEC doesn't even have to vacate the order. It can simply draft an agreement with Ripple that it doesn't want to enforce the judgment for the same consideration set out in number 2. And then he says number 4, the SEC enforcement manual has all kinds of general vague language and recommends cooperation and settlement over the uncertainties of litigation. So the authority of this behavior is covered. But even if it weren't, who cares? This isn't a good thing, but the SEC and most other government agencies has proven it does what it wants when it wants without regard for due process. Here in works in justice's favor for once. So Fred Rispoli, a bit pessimistic on this, but he says it could be wrapped up fairly easily. And guys, we're hoping it will within the next few days, as Eleanor Terrett does speculate. Vincent Van Code commenting, confidence in XRP is so low right now that even the juiciest news isn't moving price. So we have the XRP stockpile that was mentioned first. Over 15 XRP ETFs have been filed. Eleanor Terrett finally did break the news from her 2 sources advising that the case is going to end soon. That hasn't really kind of moved the price. We're still seeing XRP price just kind of move in conjunction with Bitcoin. Number 4, he says RLUSD and Ripple custody are set to become the standard, especially with the new Stablecoin Act. And the OCC confirms banks can now run validators and custody digital assets. So we have so much here, guys, so much to suggest that we are on the right path. I did comment on the stablecoin bill yesterday. Latest drafts to the U.S. stablecoin bill aims to split power between state and federal authorities. And yes, I think it was Jeremy Hogan too who commented on this. The latest draft of the Genius Act, that's what it's called, proposes a shift in stablecoin oversight, dividing it between state and federal authorities. Guys, this is huge news. What some of us have been thinking will really move cryptocurrencies like XRP once their RLUSD is fully regulated to be utilized in U.S. jurisdictions. And so I had to mention this that I happened to see from Crypto Jake Ryan. He tagged me in this. Check this out, guys. David Schwartz originally posted this. Why is it not called the Stable Genius Act? And he posted that 7 hours ago. And so Crypto Jake Ryan, well, he took it upon himself to plug that into the Geomatrix calculator here. And guys, look at what you get for the term Stable Genius. Ripple XRP, XRP Ripple, Stable Genius, XRP Moons, just to name a few. And who knows, maybe this will happen on Taco Tuesday. I don't know yet, guys. Why would David Schwartz even write that? And what are the chances? I mean, really, what are the chances that it would align with the Geomatria calculator results? Things that make you go, maybe this will happen on a Tuesday. Until then, I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for what happens with the Ripple SEC case. I'm sure a lot of you guys are also interested. That's just my opinion. And for more information on what I'm doing this particular bull run, because guys, we're getting things thrown at us left, right, and center. Follow me, patreon.com/workingmoneychannel for all my observations, where I'm going to cash out, all that fun stuff, patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. And please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.